hopeful about his availability, but we got to believe that he's going to be compromised. So with that in mind, how much does it change your outlook for the Bucks in winning this championship, Mike?
Not for me. I really like the Bucks. I think they could beat you inside, obviously, when Giannis comes back. But look, Brook Lopez played really well in the last series against Atlanta. You think about Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton. I think when those four guys are on the court, that's a really good nucleus. And look, take nothing away from Phoenix. They played really well, but somebody else is going to have to step up for them. You know, you go back to that Game 5 loss against the Clippers. Cam Johnson stepped up, had 14 points, but somebody beyond DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker is going to have to play really well for them to win the series. I just think the Bucks are a little bit deeper. They're a little bit tougher, and I think over a 7-game series, they'll prove to be the better team.
Monica, is Phoenix... They're favored by Vegas at this point because of the Giannis injury. But Mike T believes, even without Giannis, the Bucks should be the team that should win this thing.
Mike.
Go for it, because I know how you feel about the Suns.
I don't know. Can I let me not do that again. I don't know if Geico's Geico's not a sponsor of this show.
We are presented by Progressive Insurance.
Do not do the Mike reference from that commercial. But listen, depth I question for the Bucks. They're down 2 starters. I think people forget Dante DiVincenzo was originally a starter with that unit.
Right.
And then now, of course, we've got Giannis. To me, there is just so much continuity on the side of the Phoenix Suns. And in fact, Vegas be knowing what's
Always,
up.
right?
So
Always.
I think that between Monty Williams' in-game adjustments and his game-to-game adjustments, I think between Chris Paul at the head of the snake and then the beast that Devin Booker has been in terms of scoring the basketball, I'm not sure who I'm putting on Book. PJ Tucker, maybe that is going.
You want Booker to cover? You're saying, right? What's the
I'm
matchup
saying
on
the
that
other way
side?
around.
Oh, the other way?
Who's going to guard Book? Is it Tucker?
That might have no, but that might have to be more of a team concept.
And so that's what I'm
I
saying.
think without Giannis, defense even more important for the Bucks than the offensive side of the basketball, because they can make up some of that offense. But guys, usually it's the players who know. Usually it's the players that'll reveal how they feel. Here's 2 different takes from 2 different Buck players, and we'll call this Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, about the potential of the Giannis absence. Again, doubtful for tonight, dealing still with that knee injury. So let's first listen to Drew Holiday on how it would be to lose Giannis in the series.
The way Giannis plays, there are no letdowns. He's continually going to the basket, being aggressive on both ends of the floor, and he brings so much to this team, and he does so much for us that I feel like having losing that would really be hard for us. So just continue to be aggressive from minute 0 to 48.
So it would be difficult, obviously. I mean, you would say that about an MVP, of course. If you don't have him in the lineup, absolutely difficult to play. Now, Chris Middleton, who has he's leading the Bucks in the playoffs, averaging 23 a game. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Giannis averaging 28, but right now with Giannis out, Middleton's their leading scorer at 23 a game, and he has had huge quarters to lead this team to the finals. And I say lead because that's really what he's done. He's been the closer. So how does Chris Middleton feel? How does Robin feel at the wheel of the Batmobile? Listen to this.
When Giannis is out there, a lot of times we could just give him the ball and let him go to work and, let him orchestrate a lot of things out there. Without him, we have to do it by committee, moving the ball around, driving it a little bit more, playing just a little bit faster with a little bit of different flow. But, I think guys have done a great job of adjusting with him not out there in, 2 of the most important games of our season.
So what are we reading into that, Mike? Because I'm reading Chris Middleton sort of saying, like, we're good, we'll just play a little different, but we're fine.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the Coach Belichick pregame sort of media approach of, like, we're not going to give away too much here. But, look, they're a confident group. They should be. Again, I think they're deep. When you think about guys like P.J. Tucker, who's a great defensive player, we saw him guard KD. I don't know if athletically he can keep up with Booker, but we'll see. Pat Connaughton, obviously a great shooter. So I think this is a team that could beat you a lot of different ways. We saw him play really big and physical again against Atlanta. Obviously, Phoenix is an even more athletic, explosive team. But I think at the end of the day, given their depth, their toughness, and obviously if Giannis comes back at some point, I just think over a 7-game series, they are the better team. And look, Chris Paul is a great story, but one of the questions would be is, can he withstand 7 games? Like, is he going to be able to, will he wear down at some point? That's another, to me, another sort of like angle to this series that we're going to have to watch.
Yeah, that is definitely something he's been dealing with stuff throughout this playoffs. That was Straight Talk, by the way, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise. Monica, how about you? From the difference, I think it was contrasting takes by Holiday and by Middleton about missing Giannis.
Well, one's a point guard and one is like the scorer, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, and I think it reflects when you think of how Holiday has played with this Bucks unit. And I loved Jen Latta's analogy yesterday. Like it's like being a parent. The kid calls and the mom's waiting to see if the dad answers. Like Holiday is so
right. If
focused
the other
on
parent's not
setting
home,
up.
you're responding immediately.
And so Giannis will be the other parent. And so Middleton, we've seen play free, play loose, and he actually probably has more of that luxury to do that even when Giannis is on the floor because of the expectation to him to be that 1-2 punch. But Holiday, as a point guard, he's worried about setting the table, putting guys in the right position, making sure Giannis is good. And so I think as he processed and we listened to that soundbite, that's what I heard more than anything. Where Middleton, look, shooter's going to shoot. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, and that's what he's been doing. Again, he's been the clutch guy. He's been, as we mentioned yesterday, I think the best way to describe it is the way Holiday described it, is that Giannis is the soul of the team. He's been the soul of the franchise basically since they drafted him. But Middleton has emerged as the heart, and usually one guy is the heart and soul of a team. But here you've got two guys providing that, and that could be the difference in this. But Mike, we're going to get to X factors a little bit later on. But what I want really more right now is a matchup. Let's assume no Giannis tonight. Let's take him out of the equation, at least for tonight. And we all know the importance of Game 1 in setting the tone. So what is the matchup that you'd want to see tonight and in this series that you'd say, just quickly, the matchup tonight that you think will set a tone for the series? Let's start with Mike.
Oh, I think it's strength on strength. Drew Holiday and Chris Paul, two great point guards. Head-to-head, let them go head-to-head for maybe 7 games, and let's see who comes out on top. But two great players, that's a great matchup for me.
I think that's a great one, Mike T. I was vacillating. There's so many. I think Book is obviously going to be a large key in this one. I don't know if it'll be a Book-Middleton matchup, though. I think we're going to see some different
Bridges probably
guarding,
on Middleton, right?
Bridges probably on Middleton, a little bit of PJ Tucker probably on Book, like Mike T said earlier. But those two are keys to this entire operation. But if I had to go matchup, you know where I'm going, hon. Matchup, man versus man, strength on strength. I'm going DeAndre Ayton and
agree
Lopez.
there. I agree. I do think Brook Lopez is going to be an interesting factor here without Giannis, and what we saw what he can be. Go back to that throwback of get back into the post and be that player. Make Ayton guard him a little bit, maybe even get him in foul trouble. Young player can't get into foul trouble.
And he has to guard Ayton on the flip side.
And then, pick and roll. Very difficult.
One of the big adjustments, if you watch the cadence of that Clippers series, if you dug into it, when DeAndre Ayton had monster games, usually, other people played well too, but I thought the chess match of him responding to Ty Lue's lineup changes, whether it was Zubac or Morris or whatever.
Yeah, they had to go small.
Yeah, and DeAndre Ayton was on the floor throughout the series and productive.
Yeah, they didn't have to change the lineup there, but this will be interesting because Brook can be a stretch, but he also has proven he could still post. By the way, to remind everybody, every game of the NBA Finals can be heard right here on ESPN Radio, and coverage of Game 1 begins tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. So, as I mentioned, let's talk some X factors. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, you mentioned Ayton as well. Who is it going to be the X factor in the NBA Finals, which begins tonight with the Suns and the Bucks? We'll discuss that next on ESPN Radio. It's KJZ, Alan Hahn, Monica McNutt, Mike Tannenbaum in with you on ESPN Radio and, of course, on the ESPN app. 9 o'clock tip-offs in the NBA Finals means team no sleep. Because,
let's
you can't turn off a finals, right?
I also would like to point out, as we welcome back into the show, sorry, Mike T, you're from home. The wide shot of us here in the 2 shot, we did not intentionally coordinate, but we are both rocking our Clyde Pumas. Shout out to Clyde.
Why am I doing awkward things with my feet right now? I'm trying to show
I don't
it
know.
on camera and it just ain't working.
Clyde, let me come stay in your resort. Where is he? St. Croix? Probably chilling right now. Anyway, just had to give Clyde some love. We love
And
Clyde.
actually, the exact same ones too.
Legit.
The silver signature.
Clean, white, crispy, classic.
Right?
Summertime
Definitely
fine.
feeling these.
Shout out to Clyde.
I don't know if, Mike, you're wearing your Clydes today, but I'm sure you can't show them because you're
shoes.
sitting at your desk. Yeah, honestly, every time I did a broadcast from home, it was usually the shorts.
Shoes are optional.
Sometimes barefoot.
Whatever.
Suit on top. The business on top, and that's certainly all that matters. So as I'm mentioning, though, champions. So last night, Stanley Cup Finals, there was a chance. The cup was in the building. but it went to overtime. Montreal stayed alive. But that's like once you reach this level, you don't wake up and watch the ending. Come on, it's the championship. Like you've got to watch. So that's what we've got certainly tonight. And with that in mind, we've got a lot of first timers here in the NBA Finals, guys. We've got a team where no one has even been in a finals other than Jay Crowder, who played 6 games last year with the Heat. After that, these are all newbies, new faces. As you know, we're used to the stars always being in this thing. People have talked about that. LeBron James is in it every year, or Steph Curry's in it every year, or it's Kobe, or it's Tim Duncan. This is going to be some new faces for the first time in a while that we're seeing, but it doesn't mean they're faces that we don't know. Chris Paul being one of them, as a guy who is making his finals debut after 123 playoff starts. It's the most in NBA history.
That's wild.
Karl Malone and John Stockton were behind him as they had their back-to-back appearances against Michael Jordan and those Bulls. Didn't work out for them, but we'll see if it works out for Chris Paul. With that in mind, X factor in this finals.
Dun, dun, dun.
Monica, is it Chris Paul?
Dun. No, I don't understand how Chris Paul I don't understand. Rewind, right? I do not understand how Chris Paul can be considered an X factor. This is a very blatant key to the entire series. So this is where we get into the nuances of titles and words. Your X factor is someone who, up front, you may not think is going to have an important role in the series.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, well,
so it can't be.
I think the X factor is the guy that's a difference maker. But okay, that's your definition. It's different than mine. That's fine. You can have a different definition.
Mike T, how do you define X factor?
Monica, I'm with you. It's someone that's a little bit non-obvious, so I'm with you on this.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll lay out. You guys have a conversation.
Now I will proceed with my X factor, who is not named Chris Paul. I actually think for the Phoenix Suns, my X factor is Mikal Bridges. I think we've seen him grow as a defender, earn respect across the league using his length. He's probably going to be the guy that spends a lot of time dealing with Chris Middleton, who is on a heater, in particular in third quarters, right? But in the same breath, when Mikal is running the floor, spotting up in that wing spot or in the corner for that three, or just cutting the lane when this Phoenix Suns team is in transition, he's a formidable offensive player as well. So I got Bridges.
Okay. Mike, who do you have as an X factor in this series?
You know, Monica mentioned him on the last segment, but I got to go with PJ Tucker, and here's why. If he can eliminate one of the scorers for Phoenix, is it Booker? Will he be on Chris Paul at some point? Could he even be on Ayton? But he does so many of the little things. He's a great defender, great rebounder. So to me, he is the definition, as Monica alluded to, of an X factor. Obviously, if Giannis comes back, that changes the complete narrative. But I think Tucker does a lot of the dirty work that may allow them to become champions.
People need to know, obviously, you know Mike Tannenbaum as an NFL executive for many years, Miami, New York Jets as well, but does have a lot of NBA connections as your time as an agent, so you certainly know that game. But can you make a comparison to a PJ Tucker and what he would be to an NFL team? Like, is there a type of player that you add to a team that a PJ Tucker, what he brought to the Bucks?
Your teammate, Bart Scott. You know, he's barking from day one. He's tough. He's physical. He's a great teammate. He has great intangibles. They're overpaid and underworked. I see a lot of comparisons between Bart and PJ.
I love that you said Bart.
And I'm the one that overpaid him.
He's Mr.
That.
Can't Wait.
And I'm the guy that overpaid him.
But hey, how did it work out for both of you? You know, if you think about it, that's a great comparison because I looked at PJ Tucker as that guy, and I wanted I thought the Nets, he would have been a great fit there because they sort of, needed that grit and grind kind of player. But he obviously was a great fit with the Bucks too because he adds that element of toughness that everybody else like when I leave the studio with Bart Scott, I feel tougher. When I'm walking out of the building with him, like I can stare down anybody because I got him next to me. That's the kind of confidence a guy like that gives a team, and I do think that's what PJ Tucker brings to the Bucks. That element of toughness that almost makes other guys who aren't known as tough guys makes them tougher.
Totally agree, guys. Bart, the signature play, believe it or not, for me was we saw him to this big contract when we get him from the Ravens. He forces a fumble. If you guys remember Brandon Jacobs, that big physical giant running back in a preseason game, Jet Giant game. And I was like, wow, for somebody to show that sort of effort, it becomes very infectious. And you go back to that Milwaukee Nets series, and boy, PJ is barking. I know they were college teammates at Texas with KD, but boy, that toughness is infectious, and I think he has intangibles that are hard to define. But to me, going back to the definition of an X factor, I think PJ Tucker, maybe not in the box score, but what he could do defensively could make the difference in the series.
Disruptive and obviously getting people.
I agree.
Inspired.
I definitely agree. PJ Tucker is that dude. I just kind of think. Neutralize is a strong word, but I think Jay Crowder brings some of the same thing for the Phoenix Suns.
Very similar.
Right?
Very similar.
Both of them are not necessarily going to wow you offensively, but when it comes to grit and get after it, maybe pick up a foul, maybe get in somebody's face, maybe whatever.
Oh, he's notorious for that. He's notorious for that guy. That's the get under your skin kind of guy. He's notorious for that. There's no question. And you could see him in those quarters where, as you mentioned, where Middleton starts to get hot. Yep. Where Jay just gets in his way. Just, a couple of elbows, a couple of extra bumps, couple of little trash talk, and 100%. Try to get in his head a little bit.
Yeah, now what we've seen, whether you think of Tucker attempting to slow KD, I can't even remember who drew the Middleton assignment mostly against the Hawks, or even whoever's guarded Devin Booker at points. The offensive player is always at the advantage, right? Because the defense has to respond, and you never know what the offensive player is going to do, even for those that study it all best. And I think when you think of Devin in particular over the course of this playoffs, even when he's been challenged and it's been difficult, he still gets to his spots. Very rarely did we see him be rushed. Now, he might not hit every shot, but in terms of a guy the game is slowing down, and we talk about some of that Kobe comparison, I'm excited to see whoever's going to draw Devin Booker.
There's no doubt this is going to be a finals where there are a lot of X factors in this, but there is obviously the star factor, and Chris Paul and his impact on the Suns is a huge story, of course, long-awaited arrival to the NBA Finals, but also for Giannis Antetokounmpo, another side story. How healthy can he get? But it doesn't sound like he's going to be available for tonight's Game 1. He is listed so far as doubtful with that knee injury. So we have a special look at the start of the NBA Finals with our Daily Wager NBA Finals special tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Doug Kazarian and Tyler Fulgham break down the Bucks and the Suns using betting lines and give you great wagering information you can use. I'm very good at putting extra letters into your last name.
Shout out to Doug and T.Y.
The road to camp continues. Which quarterback competition is going to be the tightest in the NFL? We'll discuss that after I tell you about O'Reilly.